So I got a question for you. How many of you enjoy winter hiking, snowshoeing, that kind of thing? I'm sure a lot of you, as I do. But if I ask you how many of you stay overnight in the mountains, I'm sure a lot of hands just went down there. And you're probably thinking, I don't have the right gear. I don't have a down park, a down sleeping bag, thermal liner, hot tent with a stove jack, all those things that I'm going to need to survive out there. Well, I'm out in the mountains here again, end of November. It's -5 this afternoon, supposed to get well below -10 here tonight. And I didn't bring any cold weather gear with me. I've got a pretty good sized pack, as you can tell, but it's all summer weight stuff, things that you would get at Walmart, Canadian Tire. And I brought it out with me on this trip just to show you that if you layer properly, combine a bunch of stuff together, it might be a little bulky, not necessarily all that heavy, but I think you can survive just fine in the mountains overnight. So come on along, let's put it all together and see how we do. So as with most of these hikes, I like to give you a shot of some Predator tracks right up front so you know that there's a reason I carry the firearm and the bear spray. And this hike is no different. Get my hand in the frame there. And got some pretty good sized tracks. I'm thinking those look more canine than feline, and certainly bigger than a coyote. I'm thinking wolf here. Not an expert tracker, but that's just my guess. So once again, got to keep my wits about me, kind of head on a swivel sort of thing. Don't think it's anything to be concerned about. They're going that way and we're going that way. So we'll carry on and see what happens. So this turned out to be a pretty nice afternoon, just after 3, about -5. A little bit of daylight left. This time I managed to get the camp set up early enough that you can see what's going on. Anyway, there's a wider view. Let's go take a closer look. So there's a little bit of a closer view of the tent. Took me about 10 minutes to set that up. It's a North Face Stormbreak 2 3-season tent. Not overly expensive, about $150 here in Canada. But I think that's going to work out pretty well tonight. And I managed to get a couple of logs cut, one for a table, one for a chair. And I got the paint can stove. I'm not going to use that for heat tonight, but I'm going to cook on it. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with that a little later. And a lot of things I bring in dry bags, so I can just toss them under the tree and not worry about them getting wet. And of course, there's my pack, snowshoes, and rifle hanging at the ready. So the pack I brought with me this time is made by Eberlestock. It's their frame pack. And it's designed to carry game out of the bush, but you can get different modular bags and compartments for it. So what I've got on there right now is the dry bag option. It zips on, it's designed for that pack or that frame, and it's completely waterproof. So it's ideal for a situation like this where essentially you're going to be out in the elements for a day or as long as you need to be here. Normally I would wear a tactical belt, but this time I put my MOLLE pouches right on the hip belt of the pack, and it worked out pretty well. Had about 32 pounds in that, something like that. Was very comfortable, much better than what I had been using in the past. So the rifle I brought with me this time is my 1973 Winchester Model 94 30-30 lever action. And you know, there's nothing glamorous about this rifle. I didn't pay a lot of money for it, but it's accurate and reliable. A situation like this where it's going to be out exposed to the elements, it's not something that I'm really too worried about, and yet I know it's going to function well for me. So just give you a little bit of a close-up of this paint can stove. There are some videos on my channel, so take a look at those. But this is the upgraded version. It's got the wing nut for the door clasp, the adjustable vents, and the improved leg detail here with the connector nut or rod nut. So let's go ahead and cook some dinner. So I got a pretty good fire going in there, but I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how on earth I'm going to cook dinner on this. So I come up with a couple of different things. First off, I got a couple of 1/2 inch long by 1/4 inch diameter bolts that I've put through from the inside with nuts on them, of course, to act as a little bit of a tripod. This is about a 1 liter pot, and it balances quite nicely on there. I have cooked this way before and it does work, but not super efficient. Now, the other thing that I've come up with, I'm sure you can see the flame coming out the top of this thing. I've got a pot stand or pot support up at the top there. Basically 2 pieces of strapping just interlocked together, and they'll actually support the weight of a liter of water without any trouble. I'm using an elbow here just because I want to be able to use this for different things, but if you just had a short piece of pipe, maybe 6 inches, something like that, that would work fine also. So I'm going to go ahead and boil some water, make some dinner. So it's taken about half an hour or so, but I got a good hot liter of water, if not boiling, and it's certainly hot enough to make some dinner. I'm going to do instant mashed potatoes again. I do these almost every time I come out because they're so easy. About half of that package in a cup of water, a little bit of hot water, give it a stir, and it sure hits the spot after a day on the trail. So, you know, the temperature's dropping a little bit, down to about -8 right now. It's definitely going to get colder tonight, so I'm just going to sit here, enjoy the fire that's coming out of this stove, and just relax a little bit, and then we'll crawl into the tent, set things up in there, and I'll show you what's going on. So it's about 7 o'clock, crawled into the tent here, time to get things set up. Enjoyed the last few minutes in front of the fire there, but it's time to get this all sorted out. So the 2 bags that I brought with me, 2 sleeping bags, are lightweight summer bags, both from Canadian Tire up here. Both cost me about $35, very inexpensive. The one on the left is rectangular. It's a 6-degree bag, horrible bag, honestly. And the one on the right isn't much better, also about $35, $40 up here in Canada from Canadian Tire. While it's a 0-degree bag, it is not good for freezing temperatures, I can tell you that. I've used it in the summertime, and it's just awful. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the mummy bag, put it inside the square bag, and I think 1 + 1 is going to equal more than 2 in this case. I've done this in the past with different bags, but I haven't tried it with these 2. We'll see how it goes. What I'm sleeping on here is an inflatable pad from Cabela's. It's an Instinct insulated pad, weighs about 2 pounds. A little bit of insulation in it, not much, but that's all I've got for a sleeping mat. No other bubble foil wrapper pads or anything else. So we'll see how that goes here tonight. Just over in the corner, I've got my UCO candle lantern again and a tea light. Little bit dangerous in a small tent like this, but I think I'm going to have a moisture problem here tonight. As you can see, just a little bit of exhale there, and we got vapor in the air. I got my thermometer here. I'll give you a quick look at that. Just outside is showing -9 with 80% humidity. So no ventilation at the top of this tent. It's one of the reasons that I don't really like it, and there's no way to really zip the fly higher. If you go higher on the door, then you're exposed to the elements. So we'll see if those 2 little candles take a little bit of the moisture out of the air. Gonna keep them going here tonight. I'm not a really restless sleeper, so it's something that I do and I don't worry about too much, but it's something that you guys may want to think twice about. So I'm pretty much tucked in here tonight. I got my barrel bag inside my square bag. All the rest of my clothes are on, including my $89 puffy jacket from Cabela's. So far so good. Feeling fairly toasty. Hopefully it doesn't get too much colder. If anything does happen overnight, I will definitely get you guys up. But if not, I'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning, everyone. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Survived the night. There's the tent and the stove. Got some water boiling there ready. And looking forward to a little bit of breakfast. I'll just show you in the tent really quickly. The arrangement I had with the 2 sleeping bags worked out fairly well, actually. It was -10 overnight, and I would say that was about the comfort range of these 2 bags together. Much colder than that, I probably would have started to shiver a little bit, but there were a few times where just had to pull things a little tighter around my neck. But overall, it worked pretty well. Got several long stretches of sleep, 2-3 hours at a time. And really, that's all you can expect in a tent, -10, with a couple of summer sleeping bags. So I think it's time to get things packed up and hit the trail again.